In this section of the course, you will understand the concept of open government data, its benefits, challenges, and the different open data formats. In general, government data is all data or information that government entities, ministries, administration produce or collect. Open means that the information, the data, can be readily and easily consulted and reused by anyone with access to the internet. Open government data is a philosophy and increasingly a set of policies that promote transparency, accountability, and value creation by making government data available to all. This reduces the silo approach of the past, where many administrations and ministries held the data close to the vest and did not share it with the public and rarely shared it with other members of their government. So now public bodies are producing and commissioning huge quantity of data and information and are now making it available to their citizens free of charge. By making their data sets available, public institutions become more transparent and accountable to citizens. By encouraging the use, reuse, and free distribution of data sets, governments promote business creation and innovative citizen-centric services. Open also means that there are no legal barriers to using the data. You don't have to be a registered member of a data set to use that data set. It also means that there are no fee required. Governments should not charge citizens to use open government data. And the data should be in machine-readable format, which will allow citizens to use the data in different types of application to make different types of scenarios and even create application. And there should be no technological barriers. In the past, data was considered classified first, unless marked by non-classified. The current trend is the opposite. All data are non-classified unless they're marked classified. And this is the digital by default approach. Some of the features of a good open data is that it has value to the public. So the information that's available online are the information that citizens would like to see available to them. And that could be in education, in health, in commerce, in business, in immigration, or any other sector of life. It's also updated on a timely basis. So the data is not old. As soon as data is available, it should be put online. And it's offered in different formats, so citizens can use different applications to create whatever innovative solution or application they would like to do. What are the benefits of open data? There are a number of them. Promoting transparency and boosting public trust in government is one of them. It also encourages citizens to participate with government entities in designing policies and services. When citizens have their points of view integrated into government policies, the government policies are usually more effective. Open government data also enhances government's effectiveness and efficiency. It also can create business opportunities and jobs, so it's a benefit to the economy. And in terms of research, it also promotes innovative and data gathering information available to all its citizens. There are many arguments on behalf of open government data. People see that data belongs to the human race, so essentially it's a public good. It's like electricity, it's like water, it should be used by everyone. And we have some examples from that, from the genomes to data organism to medical science, environmental data, educational data, commerce data, commercial data, financial data, all of this. In most countries, public money was used to fund the work of gathering the information. So therefore, it should be universally available to the citizens as well. If the data was created by or for a government institution, that institution also has the ability of opening the data to the public. And one important benefit of open data is that facts cannot be legally copyrighted. So if you produce documentation that's factually based in terms of numbers, these can be the foundation of open government data. And essentially, you do not need to have a legal reason to not open up the data. Other benefits of open data means that research doesn't get the full value unless the data is available to all of us. So researchers are looking for that raw data where they can use their imagination, they can use their different ways of looking at data and thinking to be more innovative and more efficient. Another benefit of open data is that the restriction on data reuse creates anti-commons, which is essentially a lack of coordination between the different institutions out there. By opening up the data, the coordination between ministries, agencies, and institutions in government enhances as well. Data is required for the smooth process of running communal human activities and is an important enabler in social economic development, such as healthcare, education, economic productivity, etc. In scientific research, the rate of discovery is accelerated by better access to data. And we've seen the importance of data in agriculture, in medicine, in all aspects of life. Another benefit of open data is by making the data available, it also helps to combat data rot. These are information that are no longer valid but are still available on most websites. And by decreasing or eliminating the data rot to have data that's available in timely fashion, it ensures that scientific research data are preserved over time and are made better over time. There are a number of challenges as well to open government data. Politically, economically, and technical and societal impediments exist. A lot of governments still are using legacy systems and are complicated in opening data, and there's no dialogue between the data producing public bodies and data users. So unless some countries have acted on developing a legal registration, some ministries have said if there's no legal aspects to open data, I do not have to open up my data to the public. And that does a disservice to the citizens and the researchers available as well. So there are also data access impediments. This is requiring registration or becoming a member, and the data sources are also fragmented at times. So access to data is also key. You need to be having free access to data, and the data sources themselves should be reliable and not fragmented. Data disposition is another impediment. So we want to have governments provide data in as many data formats as are possible to ensure that different applications have access to information through this data. Data use is also an impediment. Many users are not programmers, they're not data scientists. So government should not only provide open government data, but should also provide the data in a certain format or application that's useful for citizens. Now we're talking about having these benchmarks in place, these dashboards in place that allow users to see how well or how bad their country or ministry is actually doing. And also the inefficient metadata. If it's insufficient and inefficient, we're not getting the best information out of that data. And lastly, in this particular slide is what is considered confidential. What's confidential in country A is not necessarily confidential in country B. And therefore, the role of culture, the role of tradition plays a great role in determining what is confidential and what is not confidential. There is no right or wrong reason on what's confidential. It will solely depend on the tradition, the cultures, and the way of life of that country. Government funding may not be used to duplicate or challenge activities of the private sector. Some people see open government data as a potential barrier to that. And therefore, they think that the private sector should be able to do their own funding and not have the government create these opportunities for them. But I argue the opposite. I think if government provides open government data, then the private sector has more opportunities to be more effective and generate greater opportunities for jobs and profit. Governments have to be accountable for the efficient use of their taxpayers' money. And one argument might be that spending money on open government data when only a few people can actually program data might be a disservice. We are saying that providing information and data available freely and increases the level of trust that governments and citizens have for each other. Public funds are used to aggregate the data, and we see that in statistics. And by providing data, you will also bring a commercial benefit to not a small number of people, but a larger number of people. And the last challenge of open data is that the revenue earned by publishing the data can be used to cover costs. So some governments can argue that opening the data has a cost value. I need to recoup my costs in order to make the data available free of charge. We're arguing the opposite. Yes, open data has a cost value to it, but the revenues that are gained from opening the data far outweigh the costs. Other challenges to open data is that sponsors do not get full value unless their data is used appropriately. Sometimes this requires quality management, dissemination, and branding efforts that can best be achieved by charging fees to users. Governments can charge fees for value-added products. For example, if I provide you with raw data and you want to use geospacing mapping tools, which the government has, they can charge you to use those tools. If the government uses its own open data to create specialized reports, programs, and so forth, they can charge a fee for that as well. But for raw data, there should be no fees to be charged. The other argument is that most end users cannot use data without additional processing, like analysis and application. This is usually true. This is why governments need to prepare dashboards for users to look at and also to process. These dashboards will enable users to understand the data better. However, it doesn't preclude the fact that data should be also available in raw format. Now we're going to watch a short video on open data concerns and their solutions to those concerns.
The concept of open data is growing around the world, and governments are stepping up to meet the public's demand for data. However, cities and other governments starting down the path of opening data often have concerns and questions about releasing data to the public. Many of these concerns are valid and require a thoughtful response. Acknowledging questions and concerns around open data and then discussing and addressing them is essential to creating a successful open data program. In this video, we'll outline two of the most common concerns we at GovX have heard about opening data: data reengineering and cost. For each concern, we'll first provide a philosophical response that addresses foundational questions, and then a technical response honing in on practical ways to address the concern. We'll also provide a brief example from a city showing how the concern has been addressed successfully in an open data program. Concern 1. Often, leaders are concerned that opening data will expose the public to harm. One specific concern is that someone could re-engineer open data to discover personal information. This is also referred to as the mosaic effect. A philosophical response to this concern should acknowledge that the mosaic effect is real and reaffirm the need to protect personal information. Strong governance processes should be put in place to review data and ensure that only information that should be released is open to the public. A technical response could focus on the idea of aggregation. Governments can aggregate data to a high enough level to ensure that personal information is protected. Aggregation is one of several technical approaches that should be considered when developing a plan to manage the risk of opening data. One example from a city comes from the city of Seattle. For crime data, the city aggregates entries to the 100-block level. This allows critical public safety information to be open to the public without identifying individuals. Concern 2. In today's budget climate, leaders are naturally concerned about the costs of programs and initiatives. Setting up an open data program could include costs for things like software, staff, and training. Plus, a government must maintain the program over time, which creates additional costs over the long term. A philosophical response to this concern should note that while concerns are important, it may be more costly in the long run to keep doing business as usual. In addition, concerned leaders often assume a high cost for an open data initiative, when actually there are many options at a variety of cost levels to choose from. A technical response could focus on the concept of third-party interaction. Publishing raw data allows third parties to deliver information to the public through apps or visualizations. Giving them access to the data may be all they need to provide their solution, which relieves the government of responsibility and cost of providing direct solutions. For example, the Kansas City Area Transit Authority publishes route and schedule data on its website, which allows third-party entities to use their data. The Transit Authority also publishes a directory of third-party applications, which allows their customers to make better decisions based on useful information. We realize that the two concerns outlined here are only the tip of the iceberg of concerns leaders often hear about open data. So let us know, what open data concerns have you seen or heard in your city? How did you address them? What answers would be most useful to you? Go to labs.centerforgov.org to check out GovX's guide on addressing open data concerns and add your voice to the conversation.